I'm Leonard Briggs, and this is my podcast from my head to your ears. And just doing a quick podcast. I've been kind of absent lately from the podcast world. As you know, I lost my sister and my mom, and I just have been on a project to clean out my house and take care of some personal things. And honestly, with grief, I just kind of lost my podcast mojo, so to speak. But I am going to do a podcast for Halloween that I'm really excited about next week, next episode. I'll be recording on the night of the 28th or around that time. And it's a Halloween episode. I'm going to tell some great ghost stories and a few other surprises, but right now I'm going to talk about how I am reimagining my life, and I'll explain that after I take a short break. I'm Leonard Briggs, and this is my podcast from my head to your ears. And today I'm going to talk about how I'm having to reimagine my life. I'm no longer a caregiver for my mom. I no longer have a sister in Missouri. It's kind of weird that two of the most important women of my life are no longer on this earthly plane. And when you lose people, you're just kind of left to pick up the pieces and move on. And move on I shall, but I will never, ever, ever, ever not love my mom and my sister. They're forever with me in my heart, as is my dad, my grandma, my older sister Connie, and all the people I've lost in my life, which, you know, we all go through this in life. You do not, it's just a fact, you don't get out of this life alive, needless to say, and you lose people along the way. But what you gain is the love and the lessons that you learn from these people. And I am forever grateful that I got to have these people in my life. I'm almost 60 years old. You know, that's a long time to have people in your lives. Like this one. I'm Leonard Briggs, and this is my podcast from my head to your ears. And today I'm talking about how I'm going to have to reimagine my life. I have to go on without two of the most important women. Oh, shoot. I'm Leonard Briggs, and this is my podcast from my head to your ears. And today I'm going to talk about how I'm having to reimagine my life. I've got the inspiration from the title of this podcast from Olivia Newton-John, actually. I found out they're doing a reimagined album project of some of her Christmas songs. And I thought, what a perfect soundtrack album to my life right now, because I'm having to reimagine how I do things. I am now by myself in a house that I inherited. one of my biggest supporters and biggest listeners of my podcast and loves of my life. My older sister Lori is also no longer with us. I lost her in August, and she always listened to my podcast. She's always supported me in it, and it's just kind of weird to think she's not going to be listening to this podcast, but I know she's with me in my heart, and as is my mom. But I've spent the last few weeks cleaning, throwing stuff away, trying to get this house in order and trying to make it my own. I want to change things up. I tell you, after you suffer a loss, I think it's important to create a space for yourself that is not, how can I put this, not a constant reminder of the loss that you've had, but a reminder that you're going to go on with your life, and you have to. I can't lay down and die with them. I remember telling my father, who was mourning his own death before he died, I said, look, you're not dead yet. You have a lot of life to live, and get up and enjoy things. And those words are haunting me because I have to remember that myself now. I can't lie around in squalor and depression and sadness. There's still a lot of beauty in this world left, and I hope a lot of things to look forward to. I decided, and it was a decision that I came to actually before I lost my ladies, that I would continue to celebrate the holidays, first of all. And that maybe sounds frivolous to you, but I love this time of year. I love October, November, December. I love the holidays. I love Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. I do a movie marathon of Halloween movies in October, a scary movie a night for the whole month of October. And it was a way that I created for myself. Again, it was a reimagining of how I celebrated the holidays, because I was having to work through the holidays, and I was trying to keep things kind of fun. And so I kind of created this movie festival, and as I collected a great collection of movies, I was able to just watch films out of my own collection. Well, this year I've got a Roku, and I find a lot of my movies are online available, and that's really cool. So I even got to include a movie that my nephew John was a part of called Blackout, which I watched last night. It's a werewolf movie, and he provided the paintings in the movie. He actually, the character in the movie is an artist, the lead character that turns into the werewolf, and he paints these pictures. And anyway, my nephew's, not only him and his lovely lady Anki appeared, have a brief appearance in the movie, and I believe, if I'm not incorrect here, I believe that John's hands are actually in the film when the artist is painting a picture. That's actually his hands. So I watched that last night, and that was really cool that I can include him into my Halloween movie marathon. We both were very influenced by my sister Kim in liking horror films at a young age, and it's just so cool that he gets to live that dream, and vicariously I am living the dream with him and Anki. And I love my nephew and his beautiful lady Anki. She is the sweetest girl ever. She's from Norway, and just a fabulous, just a wonderful artist. Both of them are. They're amazing, both of them. Anyway, so I was saying, I'm going on with my life, and I talked to some people who were coming over at Christmas, around Christmas, and singing Christmas carols, and I'm going to join that group this year. I plan to anyway. And I want to go sing Christmas carols to elderly people, and that to me is a wonderful thing and a wonderful way to give of yourself, and a wonderful way to just look forward to something that you can take part of in Christmas, a new thing. So the way I celebrate the holidays actually is symbolic of the way I'm going to have to celebrate my life. Like I said, I can't just sit down and die. I have to move on, and I still have my cats, and they very much need me. It's funny how they came into my life. I think they were maybe... There's a thing where people say cats find you, and I really think that. I think it's true because they kind of give me a purpose in life. I felt very fulfilled by taking care of my mom. And honestly, I feel like I've lost a child, not a parent. But I also feel like an orphan as well. So there's a lot of deep-seated feelings there. But I don't know. I have to find ways to fill my time. And I've got the podcast, and I have a great imagination, so I'm sure I can find something to do. I've got a house to take care of, and animals to take care of, and so I have a lot to do and a lot to keep me going. And that is pretty much the secret of life. Got to keep on moving. And I'm going to take a little break, and my phone is actually dying. I record my podcasts on my phone, and I need to get it on a charger. And I'll probably move my operations to the living room by my cats, who are going to drive me insane while I record my podcast. But that's just my crazy life. I'm Leonard Riggs, and I will be right back with my podcast from my head to your ears. I'm Leonard Riggs, and this is my podcast from my head to your ears, and I'm talking about reimagining my life after losing the most important ladies in my life, or two of the most important ladies in my life, my mom and my sister. My house was a wreck. The last few months of my mom's life were filled with, she was coming to the end of her Alzheimer's journey. And my sister also, who helped me with my mom, both my sisters were helping with mom at this point. My older sister Kim got in a car wreck and had no vehicle to get here. She lives several miles away. And so that just left me and my sister Cindy. And my sister Cindy was getting increasingly sicker every day and ended up with pneumonia and a diagnosis of congestive heart failure. So she wasn't able to help me anymore. So I had to take a leave of absence and care for my mom by myself. And that last month was probably the most horrific month that I had in the whole Alzheimer's journey. And I took care of her for 8 years, and I got to the point where I thought, I can't do this. And I had actually called the doctor's office and talked to the nurse and was going to set up hospice. And I regret not doing that a lot sooner than I did, but I don't know. The less people that were having to come here, the better. Because oddly enough, there's a lot of sickness out there, and I really didn't want to have a lot of people in the house. And I certainly had mostly good experiences with sitters, but I did have a couple of really bad experiences with sitters. And at this point of her care, I was really scared to leave her because I felt that I needed to be here in case of an emergency. And anyway, things work out the way they're supposed to, I imagine. And I lost her on 2 days after Mother's Day in May 14th, actually. And the whole time I was dealing with Mom, especially I don't remember exactly when it was, but my sister notified me that she was on hospice and that her cancer had gone to her brain. So it was a matter of time before she was going to pass. And when my mom passed, she was very ill. My sister was very ill and couldn't come to the funeral. So that is why, part of the reason why I was absent from the podcasting. Because I really just didn't have time. And when Mom passed, I had the funeral arrangements to make, and and then I returned to work as quickly as possible because I wasn't getting paid to be on leave. I had very little vacation time left, so I used what I could, and then I had no money coming in. So I had to get back to work. And I had tried to take a vacation in July, and someone quit, and the vacation got canceled. So my house was left in shambles, and I had neglected the house, oh Lord, for a while, because I was just working. I worked 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., but I wasn't getting to sleep till, 1, 2 in the morning, getting a couple hours sleep and then going to work. I had done that for a long time. And quite frankly, I just got to where I was just existing. I was even having trouble with giving proper care to my mom. I did it, but oftentimes I'd fall asleep and I just was exhausted. I'll be honest with you. Excuse me, I'm yawning. I mentioned exhaustion and I yawned. I have never in my life felt that kind of exhaustion. That was exhaustion of the mind and the spirit and the body. And I just was literally sitting down and falling asleep. But anyway, that part of my life is over. I did it. I kept Mom home. We watched her, and I think she had a nice life. There at the end, it was all rough, but she seemed to be happy and content. So I think that's awesome. But I've got to tell you, the night. You sit there. Grief is so tricky, and you sit there and you wonder, how am I going to do this? Why am I here now? What lies ahead? So that's the great mystery of life, and I think that's a reason to keep going. Just find out what's around the corner. I've said that a million times, but that's true. And I'll be honest with you about something. I am lying in bed recording this, and a while ago I had a thought, and I almost fell asleep. I was up rather late last night. It's my day off today, and I was talking to my niece, who's home. On top of all this, my brother-in-law has been in the hospital. He was diagnosed with cancer of the kidney, and he had his kidney removed and had complications after the surgery, and my poor sister's been dealing with that. My sister Cindy, and my other sister's husband has breast cancer, actually, and he's dealing with treatments as well. So I tell you, 2024 has been just ridiculous. But anyway, that having been said, you just got to keep on going. And I'm going to take a break because I need to blow my nose. I'm getting stopped up. And also I need a drink because I'm about ready to choke. So I'm Leonard Riggs. This is my podcast from my head to your ears. I'm Leonard Riggs, and this is my podcast from my head to your ears. And I'm talking about how I am reimagining my life. I'm redoing, fixing up, sprucing up, whatever you want to call it. But after a great loss, it's important to keep going. And part of what I'm doing is changing my house around. I've been working on this house since I had my vacation last week, 9 days off, and other than my sister's Memorial Day on the Saturday, I've been working on this house, and it's still a mess. I've thrown out garbage and all kinds of stuff. I kind of have been very depressed this year, and I think that was why I was kind of not podcasting, and I knew the end of my mom's time was near, and also, as I mentioned, my sister's too. I mention this a lot because I'm sorry if I am, and I'm not apologizing, actually. I knew my sister was dying, and I knew my mom was dying, and I'm sorry if my depression depresses you, but I can't help it. But depression is a horrible, horrible thing. And I was very depressed, and I let my house go. And I did take care of my mom. And that was my main focus in getting to work. Even work was not as important as taking care of my mom. I think my job suffered quite a bit. At the end of my mom's life, it was getting more and more difficult. Her schedule was odd, and oftentimes I'd be up really late and getting up really early. And I tell you what, that takes a toll on your body and your spirit and your mind. And I'm not going to lie, and nor do I apologize, but I was exhausted mentally, physically, and in any way you can imagine. And this house suffered. My life suffered. My weight went out of control. I'm currently on a diet. So I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to do better. And this house is a challenge. I was so overwhelmed by my house. And finally, when I got time off, I was able to kind of sit back and think, don't look at this house as a whole mess. Look at one mess at a time and try to deal with it. I did get my bathroom in a pretty good shape, except the laundry area. I need about 2 days worth of laundromat time. I have a washer and dryer, but my dryer's been broke, but I've got a dryer ready to go. But I have so much laundry that I need probably 2 days in the laundromat with 5 washers going at the same time, because that was all my mom's blankets and things. I probably should throw them out, but they're perfectly good blankets, so I am not a person that likes to waste things. Plus, there's that sentimental attachment too. I've had to get over that sentimental attachment to things, because that was another problem I have. I'm not a hoarder, but I'm very sentimental, and it's hard to let go of things. And I've been gifted with a great memory, so I've got to realize that my memory is a gift, and I can hold things near and dear to my heart and store them in my memory, and I don't need to physically have them because they take up too much space. So I had to clean out my mom's personal items drawer and I just had to get rid of. You can't keep, obviously, nobody's going to want her underwear and things. So I had to throw that away. And throwing that away was difficult because that's such a personal thing. And it just tells you that she's gone for real. And I hope that makes sense. But that was a very emotional time for me to do that. And I literally got to the point where I thought, just don't look at it, throw it away. If you're not using it or you haven't looked at it in a while, just throw it away. It's not necessary. So currently I have like half my carport filled with garbage that I'm dealing with. So that's a mess, but that is being remedied a little bit at a time. So soon we'll have that cleared, and I don't drive, I don't have a car, so my carport's going to be a little sit-down area, maybe a covered patio, if you will. I do have a sun porch as well. Right now that's filled with some stuff, and maybe someday I'll clean that out and be able to sit in my back porch again. But I just wanted a carport area to, in the spring and summer, I can have somewhere to sit outside and maybe eat in peace without my cats bothering me. I had started a project while my mom was still alive. I wanted to make an actual room for my cats where I can have their litter boxes and their cat trees and their, where they can go. And my front bedroom has 2 windows, and the cats love to look out the window. Matter of fact, I found that when I open my window, the cats all gather at the windows because they love to look outside. I don't let my cats run free. There's too much meanness out there. There's too many stray cats out there that have diseases, and I don't want my cats to get hurt. So my girlfriend, my oldest cat, is a roamer. She does like to go outside. She's very wise, though. She has survived my neighborhood for almost probably 8 years or so, maybe even 10. I don't even know. I really don't know how old girlfriend is, but she is a smart kitty cat. And she does come home, and she does love me. But getting this house in order will give me a great peace of mind. Plus, I like to cook, but I like to cook. I've been living on microwave food for a long time, and that's part of my weight problem. So I like fresh veggies and all that kind of stuff, fresh ingredients. So I am thinking positive, and I am looking forward to the holidays this year. And like I said, my inspiration for this podcast is the Olivia Newton-John album that's going to be released. It's called Angels of the Snow, and it's a reimagined project of her Christmas songs that she's already recorded, and they added a duet with Jane Lynch, who was on Glee, as one of the songs, and I think they are reimagining. When I say reimagining, they're restructuring the song, adding new instrumentation, and making it, they're making it really an upbeat kind of album. And it's got a lovely picture of her when she was in her 20s in the front, and the old font from Have You Never Been Mellow for her name. And I thought, that's really sweet. Some of her fans are criticizing the picture they used, but I really don't get why that is an issue. I thought it's a lovely picture. That's, Olivia Newton-John was one of the most beautiful women on the planet. I mean, I don't know. I don't think they would have to retouch a photo of her when she was 26 that much. She was pretty well, at that point, pretty perfect. She was just lovely. But that again, Olivia inspired me, though, this holiday season. I'm trying to figure out what to do. The holidays mean a lot to me. Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving, those holidays mean a lot to me. And family is very important to me. Over the years, I've had to adjust how I celebrate the the holidays because of work. I work a job where you work the holidays. So I've had to learn to celebrate when I can celebrate and fit things in. So it's really no different than that. Now I'm alone. I live alone now with my cats. So I don't know whether I want to go full out and celebrate the holidays, or if I want to be low key and spend time with myself and enjoy the music and just kind of take in the atmosphere and maybe have a different kind of Christmas this year. But I am going Christmas caroling with a group. I mentioned that before. I've bought my sweater. They'll go early in December, and they'll sing to the elderly people, and I got news for them. I like to sing. And I oftentimes fake sing and try to sound awful, but I really think that I have a little bit of a singing voice. I would like to think. Oftentimes people don't quit your day job, but I love to sing. And that was a thing. And this sounds weird too. I thought I lost the music in my heart. And what I mean by that is the person that would put music on and get lost in the music. And that was always a way of coping with stress for me. And I lost that ability. I just didn't want... Music became a background thing to me. I wasn't feeling the songs, and I felt like I lost the song in my heart. And the other day when I was working, I put my headphones on, and I really was inspired to work. And I realized it's still there. And then I find out about this Olivia Newton-John album, and I thought that if that's not a sign from God to, as I said, to reimagine and move on. You have to constantly change in life, and this is another change, and this is the rest of my life. And I'm not sure what other changes will come in my life. I can't even imagine what other things are going to come, and I hope I still have some good things coming up. I think I've mentioned on this podcast that I've always try to live my life as if there was something better around the corner, and I was always thinking, yeah, it might be bad now, but bad things and good things, just like everything else, this too shall pass. So I'm going to celebrate the holidays in my way this year. And I was talking to someone the other day, and I said, I don't want to be a drag to everybody, because I think I'm going to be emotional this year, and I don't want to be you can be alone in a room full of people, and I don't want to feel like that, and I don't want to drag anybody's time down. I don't want everybody to think they need to handle me with eggshells, or that they need to pamper me, or I don't want that. I want to be a participant in the holidays, but I also want to do it in a way that I'm comfortable with. So I'm going to make new traditions this year, and I don't know what they are yet. They'll just fall into place, I think. I don't know what the future holds, and that's the way it should be. So I can't sit here and say life is bad and it's going to be all bad. I can't sit here and say, oh, life is good, it's going to be all good. It's not. It's life. It's good, it's bad. So hopefully I've got a good attitude, and I'm feeling pretty good this morning because I'm off, and it's been a long week, and I'm sitting here doing my podcast instead of cleaning my house like I should be. But I had to take time to do this because I neglected my podcast, and I hate that. I love doing this podcast. This is a positive outlet for me. Even if nobody listens to it, it's good for me to put my thoughts out in the world. And I love when people come in and tell me they listen. And I heard a lady came in the other day and said she didn't know I had a podcast, and she has been listening, and it thrilled me to no end, because this is a labor of love for me. And this is one of those positive things. And this is something I wanted to be on the radio and television as a kid, and this is kind of a way of living my dream. and it's wonderful that I can do it. I'm still looking for the great program to use. I like Riverside FM, name drop here, but it doesn't have any production tools like it did on Spotify for podcasters, where you put the music on, and that truthfully made podcasting a cinch, and I really don't know why Spotify dumped all that, and Riverside does not offer any of that, at least not on the phone app. And I enjoy recording my podcast on the phone, whereas sitting somewhere with headphones on and being in a restricted environment. I'm sitting here on my couch petting my cat, talking to you, and I love it. It just thrills me that I can do that. It's so amazing. One of my listeners told me that I put him to sleep, and he says, I don't mean that in a bad way. He says, my voice just relaxes him and he goes to sleep, or better than a sleeping pill. And honestly, I got what he meant. That was a compliment. I also enjoy doing podcasts with people. I did my podcast with my friend Craig and Mike, and I enjoy that, bouncing off of people. And that I think in that situation, though, I wish I could, instead of doing it over the phone, I wish I had a studio to actually look at somebody to bounce off of, to have that vibe of seeing somebody in person and having a conversation about whatever. But the only thing is with that, the downside of that is we get to talking about things maybe I should put on my podcast. We didn't do that with Craig or Mike, don't get me wrong. I don't think we did anyway, but that can happen. You forget yourself getting lost in a conversation. But, I just, I feel good about the future now. I've gotten through some bad things that I knew were coming. And, I thought, as horrible as they are, I've lost my 2 older sisters and my parents and my grandma, and I know that death is tricky and it might take some other people, but in the reality of life, those were the people I worried about the most. My 2 remaining sisters aren't in the best of health, but I think hopefully they can deal with what they've got and they'll be fine, and I'll have them for many years. I hope we all grow old together, to the point where we're old, and I don't know who's going to take care of me in my old age, but who knows? I may not make it to my old age. That's not being a negative thought or being a negative person. That's just being real. So, well, I'm going to take a break, and I'll probably wrap this up because I've taken up enough of your time. I'm Leonard Riggs. This is my podcast, From My Head to Your Ears. I'm Leonard Riggs, and this is my podcast, From My Head to Your Ears. And I was just laughing because I'm talking about being positive and everything. And when I took my break, I kind of checked out my recordings, and then I went back into my studio on Riverside, and there's also an option to do a video podcast, and I hadn't shut the camera off yet, and I caught a glimpse of what I look like this morning, and I thought, oh my God, you look like crap. So just be thankful this is not a video podcast, because I look like someone that needs to be put under a rock and made to stay there. So I haven't had a cup of coffee yet. It's 11:03 in the mid-morning, and I'm sitting here doing my podcast. Also, I've had people comment, and I think I've mentioned it before too, about the chirp in the background. If you hear it, it's my smoke alarm. It's hardwired into my ceiling, and I hate that. I have a new fire smoke alarm that I got to install today that is battery powered. Actually, it's disposable, it's good for so many months. You throw it away and you buy a new one. They're cheaper. And I'm going to try that out. But this one is hardwired, and I'm going to have to call an electrician to get rid of the damn thing. So chirp, 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 chirp. So I tune it out, but whenever I'd call my buddy in Missouri, Brandon, and his dog would hear that chirp, he would freak out because he knew what that was. And God love him, the doggies passed away. That was Oreo, but I think of that. And my friend William, who says, I was listening to your podcast or watching your video, and I kept thinking my smoke alarm needed changed. So, yeah, I am aware that is on there. Actually, there's on my TikTok videos, I didn't realize it was going on. I tuned it out, and someone added me to a thread on TikTok about how videos with smoke alarms in the background. Apparently, there's a stereotype connected to people who let their smoke alarm chirp. I had no idea. I'm not kidding. I'm not going to say what it is on here because it's not the greatest. It's kind of a slur against certain people, racially slur or whatever. I don't know. I'm not going to get into it. You can, if you don't already know what it is, you can look it up. Just Google it. I'm not even going to get into that subject, but forgive the chirping in the background of my podcast. A lot of times too, you can hear my cats fighting in the background. They're being good. It's funny. I was talking about the guy that said my voice relaxes even into his sleep. My cats tend to like to hear me talk. So when I do this, when I do my podcast, they all are gathered around me. And so it's kind of funny. But boy, that smoke alarm's really going crazy today. I'm about ready to take a hammer to it. It is kind of getting on my nerves. Now that someone's made me aware of it, I'm very aware of it. Now I'm a little self-conscious about it. All right, I've enjoyed this podcast. I wanted to get some things out, and I just want to let everybody know I'm going to be fine. I've got to find my way and do things my way. And I promise you, I am mentally okay. My boss was concerned that I talk about death a lot, but it's my way of dealing with it. I don't like to keep things inside. I like to talk about what's bothering me. I don't avoid the subject. I want to feel it head on. I don't want my feelings numbed. I just want to feel the grief and deal with it and learn to cope with it because it's a part of me now. This loss is now a part of my life. And I understand when people lose both their parents. I don't care what age you are, you feel like an orphan. And I do. I feel like an orphan. But I had such a good childhood and such good parents and great sisters who loved me, and I have that. I have that knowledge, and I was good with all of them when they passed. And I did with my mom. I have to realize I did my best. I always tried to do right by her, and a lot of people respect me for that, and that means a lot to me. And so my reimagined life will include everybody. I'm taking everybody along with me. It includes my listeners of my podcast. And if I think about it, I'm kind of excited to put my Leonard touch on this house. But I'm also respectful of my parents. My dad has a mural that he painted, and it's 50 years old this year, on the wall. It fills the whole wall. It was a labor of love for him. He was so proud of that, and I'm proud of it. And it's an eye catcher and what do we call it? A conversation piece. People come in and they notice it. I tell them my dad did that. He painted it off a calendar. It's not an original picture. He just loved that particular. I'm not sure why, and I wished I would have asked him why he chose that particular picture, because it was an artist's calendar, and it was very pretty. It had a lot of other pictures he could have done, but why he chose this one, which is a snowy scene and an old wood mill and a horse-drawn carriage and a little barking dog, and it kind of just looks like somewhere warm and comfortable. So when I see this, I'm just it makes me feel good. So I'm sure that's why he did it, but I don't know why, truthfully, why he particularly did this one, or did this one particularly. But next month it'll be 50 years old when he finished it. And I need to touch it up because there's a few cracks in it where the chairs were leaning up against it. My couch sits up against it. I'd like to actually move my couch, and I definitely have to get some paint. He did it, oddly enough, my dad mixed mediums in it, which is unusual for an artist, but he did acrylic paints and oil paints. And I think about how much work this was for him. He did it while he was watching football on Sundays, and I honestly don't recall how long it took him to paint. But what I do know is where I'm sitting right now used to be an old Stokermatic coal stove, and that's what heated my house when I was a kid. And that sounds archaic and crazy, but that was pretty common back in the time before we got an actual furnace. So we're talking, I think he bought this house in 1950. Let's see, they got married in 1957. I think he bought this house in 1958 and remodeled it again on his free time, and at that time he was working 3 jobs, and this house was a shack that had the windows busted out and part of it had caved in, and he rebuilt it from practically nothing, and his neighbors helped build this house. So that was a labor of love, and my dad always loved this house, and if they saw the way it looked, I would have got a whooping. If there was anything I got in trouble for as a child, it was being messy. And my boss yells at me for being messy at work too. I'm like Pigpen. I just have a natural cloud of dust following me. And that's probably why I have to live alone too, because nobody can stand me. Actually, my sister Kim lived with me for a while, and my nephew Dan, and we both are kind of messy people, but we both, we can clean good, but we have an air of disorganization about us, if that is a word. So anyway, boy, did I really digress from my subject. That's, like I said, from my head to your ears, and that's what goes on in my head. There's a million things. And I was actually completing the podcast, but I think I'll go ahead and do that. Thank you for listening to my rambling, and I'll be taking you along with me on my reimagining of life, and y'all are a big part of it, and I hope to continue this podcast and improve on it, and maybe I can get a little more organized with it. I would actually like a formal space to podcast, but I might need a desk with a computer. I have a computer that I've not even opened, haven't had time to set up, and I was going to make a little mini studio, but I would like also an easy chair to sit in where I can kick back and maybe record from my easy chair. It's very important for me to be comfortable when I do this. And I enjoy sharing my thoughts and my heart with you. So thank you so much for listening. I'm Leonard Riggs, and this is my podcast From My Head to Your Ears. So stay tuned. In just a few days, I will have my special Halloween podcast with listener-submitted ghost stories, as well as a couple of my own, and maybe some ghost stories about Southern Illinois, if I can find those. And anyway, I'm going to have a good time with that. I wanted to do that last year, but I didn't get to. So thank you for listening. I'm Leonard Riggs. This is From My Head to Your Ears. Talk to you next time. Do you hear my cats? I think that's Bitsy May. Anyway, bye.